twofold. We're here to protect kids, we're here to expose predators, and hopefully to deter child sex crimes and cover-ups in the future. Just last week, a week ago today, in a new lawsuit, 4 or 5 Central Missouri priests have been accused of molesting kids. And since that, just 1 week ago, the Jefferson City bishop refuses to disclose even one detail about one of these alleged child molesting clerics. But particularly today, we're worried about 1 or 2 men, and I'm sorry to be vague, but again, because of the bishop's secrecy and silence, we don't know if it's 1 or 2 men. Several of the priests have been accused before, including Father Jerry Howard, who did time behind bars. But 2 of them we're worried about today. Again, Father David Darr and the Father Dave. The victim can't recall his last name. And that's obviously very, very worrisome. Could be the same man, could be 2 separate men. We don't know, and of course we call on the bishop to clarify this. As I said, we're also writing down on the sidewalk today the names of the still living, publicly and credibly accused child molesting clerics in the Jefferson City Diocese. None of them, as best we can tell, are behind bars, or are being supervised, or are being monitored. So any of them could be coaching soccer this morning, could be tutoring kids at the public library this afternoon, could be giving piano lessons in their apartment tonight. Most people don't realize this. Most people assume that when a priest is suspended because of child sex abuse allegations, that priest is taken off the payroll. He's usually not. Priests are only taken off the payroll if they're formally defrocked by the Vatican, and that is a process that often takes years and years and years. The other 3, Father Howard, Father Gilgannon, and Father Dugan, they've all been accused before. And 2 of them, Father Dugan and Father Howard, are on the official church credibly accused list. I mean, the overwhelming majority of victims never disclose their pain. Never. They take this secret to their grave. Of the small number who do, studies have shown that the average child sex abuse victim tells a loved one at age 52. We numb the pain with addictions, whether it's work or sex or alcohol or drugs. Many of us are unemployed, underemployed, unemployable. Some, as I said earlier, take their own lives. And let's be brutally honest. Nothing anyone can do can restore a stolen childhood. But steps can be taken to prevent more kids from being assaulted. That's what we're asking the bishop to do. And steps can be taken to help victims heal. That's right. But if you've sat on this horrible secret for decades, maybe not even told your spouse or your best friend, but you go to the Jeff City Diocese website and you see that the bishop has at least put the abuser's name on there, and at least said, here are the 5 or 15 parishes where he worked. And we as church officials have determined that he's credibly accused of hurting kids. That does, in fact, provide a level of comfort and relief. Wow. Well, I mean, I'm not Catholic now. Many of our members are not. This may sound like a distinction without a difference, but it's not like I lost my faith. I feel like my faith was stolen from me. Similar lawsuits been filed in Springfield, Cape Girardeau, also filed a week ago. 11 accused abusers. Again, some of them are deceased, some are accused for the very first time. A few are on the official church website, the credibly accused list, but some are not. And most troubling, in Springfield, there's a Monsignor Reedy who pastors a church, ironically, a church named Immaculate Conception. He's a veteran. He's been around Southern Missouri for a long, long time. Twice he was elected to be the temporary leader of the diocese in between bishops. And he's known to have been a very close confidant of then Bishop Law, later Cardinal Law in Boston, who for years was the poster child of a corrupt and complicit church official. So one would think it's been a week now. One would hope and think that the Springfield bishop would either say, we've suspended him and we're investigating, or we've known about this allegation for a while and we investigated it once before. We don't think there's anything to it. But instead, he's saying virtually nothing. Violates pledges that bishops have repeated constantly over the last 2 decades. Child molesters always have and always will gravitate towards positions of power over kids and access to kids. And the ministry is perfect for that, because you not only have power over kids and access to kids, but you're also given an extraordinary amount of trust, and you're given every benefit of the doubt. In the overwhelming majority of cases that I'm familiar with, usually attorneys from both sides try to resolve things, and sometimes that goes on for months, and the lawsuit is filed only kind of as a last resort. So typically church officials have months to to press back, to say Monsignor Reedy claims he didn't do it, says he's never met the kid, was never at that parish during those years, and he's taken a polygraph test. So it should not have come as a big shock. In the overwhelming majority of cases that I'm familiar with, usually attorneys from both sides try to resolve things, and sometimes that goes on for months, and the lawsuit is filed only kind of as a last resort. So typically church officials have months to to press back, to say Monsignor Reedy claims he didn't do it, says he's never met the kid, was never at that parish during those years, and he's taken a polygraph test. So it should not have come as a big shock. I found out, basically I repressed all my memories until I was around 30, after I remembered my abuse by a Jefferson City priest. I talked to all my family, and I found out that the same priest who molested me molested 3 of my siblings. And obviously I felt helpless and upset, but there was nothing I could do to undo those crimes, right? But I did resolve that I would try to do everything I could moving forward to protect other kids. A couple years after that, I found out that one of my brothers, who had been abused by the same priest, went on to become a priest himself, worked here in Jeff City, and went on to molest children himself. Martin Luther King once said, "No lie lives forever." And what I've found is that the more I talk about the crimes I suffered, the less I feel helpless and ashamed. And I've talked to probably 2,000, my best guess is about 2,000 victims of abuse by clergy over the years, and that's almost universally the case. At first, when you tell your best friend or your wife, or your minister or your counselor, obviously that's traumatic and that's difficult, and victims feel depressed. But ultimately, the more we talk about it, I think the more we heal. Every single time a victim talks about their suffering, anyone who listens is going to be a little more careful with their own children. And they're going to pay attention when their daughter says, I just don't like the way Uncle Jack hugs me. Or when, little Billy said, my soccer coach says that all coaches shower naked with their players, right? Being silent helps no one. No one but the wrongdoers.